nightmare. I dream that some malevolent force is tearing at me, pulling me away from my mother's bosom. I scream unheard. This is my silent, ugly, mad hell. It is a land full of greed, pestilence, ignorance, famine. 16 years of conservative government and no Edmund's house party. And then I am awoken by my closest love, cradling me in her arms, gently comforting me. She tells me that everything is going to be all right. I do not drive a 340 Volvo with an I love unleaded petrol sticker. And then I realize I wasn't dreaming!
That I was there in a former life. And I don't actually think that I was killed by them, but I think I escaped them, but I know I died young, and I had two recurring dreams, right? And the first one is that I'm escaping from this death camp, and there's loads of other people and stuff, and I've got these really like high heels on, and I can't run in them or anything, but I know that I've hidden some jewellery in them. And this is really weird because my mum told me that when her grandparents, they escaped Russia in whenever it was, that my grandma actually had, she actually did hide jewels in her shoes, which is, I think it's a bit weird, but...
Sometimes I dream about being the guy in the ER, you know, the good-looking guy, the guy who's like really attractive, and he's in there, and he's got the technology and bits and bobs, and they always save the patient, and the patient wakes up after having open heart surgery, or after having so many things done to his body that they won't fucking sleep for about a week. But 2 minutes into the movie or the program, they wake up and they go, "Doctor, thank you for saving my life. Doctor, my arse." The doctor is the guy who comes in at the end of the day when we've settled the patient, sussed the patient out, worked on the patient, given all the drugs, done the bits and bobs, but then the good guy turns up, doesn't he? The good looking guy turns up. And I've always dreamed about being that guy. When the patient wakes up.
I have some really strange dreams. They're not normal dreams or anything like that. I mean, the strangest one I've got is a recurring one, and it's basically where I'm on Stars in Their Eyes as Kate Bush, and I'm out there with a full wig and the flowing dress and everything like that, and I'm going, "Wuthering, wuthering, wuthering night." And then the Red Hot Chili Peppers come out, and just before anything interesting or anyone interesting can go down, I wake up. And this is really strange. I don't know why I do it. I think this is what people should be researching. Why dreams will always end just as they get going. I mean, how does your brain in its unconscious state know exactly when 5 seconds later the alarm is going to go off, so it gets up to a bit of an interesting bit? I don't know, does that say something about my life that I never had a sexy dream? I never had a wet dream or anything like that. I thought I was impotent for 20 years. I just didn't know what was going on. And that's what people should actually research. They shouldn't research the fact that, if you dream of...
What I remember is this feeling where you put your head on the pillow and you're back from wherever you were in the morning. It's like watching Neighbours again, It would be like watching the 5:45 episode of Neighbours after the 1:30. You're back in that same mood, in the same dream state, and it could be exactly the same dream, exactly the same episode of Neighbours where Lucy confesses that she was an alcoholic for a certain period of her life. The thing is about dreams though is that because I can't remember them and just remember the state of them, is that I can't remember what happened. I do have to try and tell people what happened in a dream. I just say, guess what happened? I hit his ex-girlfriend and she turned into a falcon, and then she flew off and everyone said, no, don't do it. Don't do what? No one ever told me what not to do. You see, when you're narrating a dream, you just have to fill in the gaps. You just make up any old thing, no matter how humiliating, just for the sake of a narrative. And I think this is a sadness. Again, I think we should just take dreams as they are, as they come, and enjoy them, wrap ourselves up in them, and just have them. But the strange thing about that state...
I can never see myself in a dream, but I was with this young girl, very young girl, long curly brown hair, and this was my daughter in the dream. And I can remember being in the dream thinking, this is a bit weird, you know, thinking, is it going to turn into a wet dream, is it going to turn into something, you know, something different than it was. And the dream went on, and all it was, the dream, was that I was a parent, I was a father. And me and my daughter, we went for walks, and we went into a forest, and we went walking along these parks and stuff. And I was just showing her things, and she was pointing at things. And that was the whole dream. And I woke up feeling really, really sad. For some reason. And since then, I don't take my dreams so seriously.
Dreams are those things that you're encouraged to play act with when you're very young, and you soon realise once reality hits that there isn't much point, or at least you go through that stage where you suddenly think everything's impossible. I think normally happens to people when they're about 12, maybe later, I don't know, you stop playing with Lego and realise that you can't build a house like that there are difficulties, that not everybody in the world has the same chances that you do, and it becomes a bit more of a reality, the fact there are limitations to things. But then when you come out of that, which I think you can do eventually, you're able to sit there and think, well, what is there actually from stopping me doing exactly what I want to do? You know, if I want to do something so badly, I can do it. And you can use a lot of things as excuses. You can use finance, you can use, you know, all these things in society, or the way that you are, but ultimately all they are is excuses. Because if you really want to do that, I think you can do. The only thing stopping you is really what's in your head and your imagination.
And it's like when Hugh Grant got caught, it was me he confided in. But then then he spoilt it all by forcing me to give him a blowjob. But, you know, and I didn't even fancy the guy. But you see, that's the thing, you know, that it doesn't have to be about people that you like all the time. I mean, I'm always dreaming about the royal family, and I can't stand them. I think they should be abolished. But when the Queen had that Annus Horribilis thing, it was me she came to for advice, and I was like telling her, you know, to keep her head held high and stand up to everybody, which like was really stupid because, you know, I hate her and I should have really put the boot in when she was down. Really, I just think, you know, it shows I'm a much nicer person than I was.
Suppose I'm supposed to talk about the, I don't know, fear or not of my physical body, or get all deep and spiritual and talk about reincarnation and memories from other lives. That sort of crap means nothing to me. All that Catholic rewarded after death for living life like cattle, or living in fear of being reincarnated as a wombat, or even worse, a Tory member of Parliament. They're not saying be good now. They're really saying, you know, be afraid and toe the line and be good little workers and give all your money to us so we can live privileged lives. And if you don't, then you'll burn in hell, or be reborn as a lower life form than you are now. As if that were possible. Nah. What concerns me is the here and now. What's happening to me and mine right now. People that mean something to me. Like my friends and my family, people that care about me.
I think that death is a well-deserved rest after a long hard slog, and I can't actually see why people get in such a flap about it, because as soon as you're born, you start to deteriorate, don't you? And you know, we were non-entities before we came on the earth, and then when we're dead, we'll be non-entities, you know? But maybe it's that sort of fear of the unknown, or forgetting things, and actually amnesia must be really bad, but no, that's the point. But I think people use death as an excuse, like a justification, you know, for example, people say like, don't speak ill of the dead, and you know, why the hell not? if they did something wrong, why the hell shouldn't they say something?
I saw this program the other day on the Discovery Channel about this festival they have in Mexico called the Day of the Dead. They have it one day a year, like Christmas, only with dead people. And basically what they do is they dig up all their dead relatives and carry them to their houses where they have this sort of reception with food and drink. And they all sit around and tell stories about the person's life, where they went when they were alive and stuff like that. And it brings back all the good memories for the rest of the family. But here, we use words like passed on and stupid, things like that, and you feel like you have to be sad when the dead are mentioned. I think the Mexicans are right. I think the dead should be associated to celebration. There's no reason why people shouldn't be happy when they're remembering.
I've actually come face to face with death on a number of occasions. The first time was in Alibaba's 5-star Blue Ribbon Mobile Kebab and Hot Pucker Pie on the Clifton Suspension Bridge. I was standing in the queue, with 4 members of Take That behind me, and this huge bloke in a massive black cassock with fog coming out of his eyes, carrying a scythe, pushes in and says in this deep, booming voice which seemed to echo a lot, "You alright, mate? Do you like chess?" "Chess? That shagging man can't stand Andrew Lloyd Webber." And he seemed disappointed, so I asked him if he wanted a game of Risk. And he said yes, and started laughing, ironically. He wasn't laughing half an hour later though when I wouldn't play best of 3. But what he didn't know, you see, was that every time he wiped the fog from his eyes, I was licking his armies. And they say you can't cheat down. Still, his night did end in a triumph when he played Take That at chess. I knew it wouldn't last long after that.
And he doesn't fucking live. He just refuses to live. And he dies. The piece of shit dies on the fucking table. And I gotta go and face the parents. And I'm about to walk into the room. And I'm laughing. My adrenaline's going and I'm giggling. And the doctor said to me, "You know the parents really well, so therefore you should be able to go and talk to them." And I'm like, I gotta talk to these parents. God forgive me for laughing, but it just took over me. I just started laughing. But when I stopped laughing? When I walked in that room. And there were the parents sitting there looking at me like I was Jesus, like I was everything that they ever held in this world. And I walked in the room and they looked at me and they went, nah, don't tell me that, nah. They saw it in my face that their only child was dead.
Funerals, however, I feel I've done very well out of funerals. I've often gone and got CDs that the deceased didn't want anymore, obviously. And often I always got the ones that the rest of the family didn't want. They were never into Wagner, these people. Why am I worrying about it? But also I got a laptop computer once, but it didn't work. And I shouldn't be cut up about that because after all the guy died. He was quite young, but I was told, well, everything you write on his computer will be dedicated to the estate of the deceased. Unfortunately, I wrote one fairly dodgy play on it, which wasn't very useful at all. So I suppose, in that I've been so lucky to have acquired so much from funerals, I'm like a composite of other people's deaths, which is strange, a reflection on what it is to be alive anyway. We are a fusion, a mélange of other people's not being there, but are trying to fill in the gaps.
Reincarnation, this is something to do with your death. It's quite a Eastern thing, I believe. Don't quote me on that. Which means that if you're good in this life, you're going to be going to something even better. And say you're a poor person, but with a good heart, in the next life you're going to become a king or something like that. I don't believe that. I think that's just a way of keeping people in order. If I died, and when I do die, because I'm sort of like, slowly shuffling off this mortal coil, if I do die, I want to come back as Godzilla. I want to come back and stomp through the West End, like death to the Trocadero Centre, because that alien war they have there is a right rip-off. And I go over to the city and smash down the NatWest Tower because it looks like an eyesore. And it looks like the Terminator's penis. And this is what I'd do if I was reincarnated. I wouldn't come back as a butterfly or any of that pathetic puffy shit. I'd go there and come as a real hard techno fiend. The techno Godzilla with the swirling tail going, that noise he used to make. Okay.
But for something that happens all the time, isn't it amazing that how little you actually see of it? When my friend died last year, I didn't think that I would cry that much in the church. But during the ceremony, it kind of just welled up a bit, and I actually started to cry a lot. And I was really quite surprised at the way it affected me. But it was like this public show of grief, but it felt natural, and I felt a lot better afterwards.
I think the state's got a way of controlling hatred, and one way the Greeks had a way of doing it was putting on tragedies and getting you to feel very sad about heroes or watch someone else's hatred being enacted in front of you. And then you would be purified of your own ugly, aggressive, horrible, hideous feelings. But another mechanism of controlling hate I encountered when I was on Vauxhall Bridge Road, and this white Range Rover draws up, and there's John Patton in it, former, and let's face it, frankly, disgraced Education Secretary. And he's just scowling, he's just feeling pissed off with traffic, pissed off with people looking at him, and he must have been pissed off with so many people like me just wanting to go. And he must be used to it. And all I could do, rather than throw a brick through his windscreen and shard his little face, was just go, that was it. That was my protest against his education policy, which...
When I was 7, I lived in Germany, in Bavaria, with my mum, who was Swedish. We had a kind of divorced Swedish mom with a little mixed-race kid. And this is like the first couple of months we lived there. And we're going to the post office in this little village called Altskan. And there's a man, a nice, lovely old man in there. And as a child, you think that old people are nice because they remind you of your grandparents, they remind you of some kind of security. So I remember I went up to him, and he started screaming in another language I didn't understand, but I understood from his body language, but it was very hateful. And we went outside, and he hit me with his cane on my legs. And as he walked away, my mum came out of the post office, and we'd just been shopping. So she took out a Coca-Cola and just...
One man I was living with in Spain, and I couldn't work out how I was in this situation. I just got working for him, and moving into another, got kicked out of the place, ended up living with him. Can't make the story short, I met up with him in a bar one night, and we'd had a few drinks, and he'd had quite a few drinks, and followed him home, and instead of going into the house, he carried on walking right out into the hills, and I followed him, and it started raining, and picked up a stick and killed him. And well, I don't know if I killed him or not, but I went back to the flat, got his passport, got his driver's license, got all his details, and took him out into the field and buried him. And the next morning, I actually got some sleep that night. Next morning I woke up and...
Hate is the flip side of love. It's far more dangerous not to feel anything about anything. I mean, just feeling nothing is a lot more deadly if you become desensitized to things. At least with hate, it can make you do things. If you hate something intensely enough, then it makes you go out and do something about it. I think at the end of the world, I see it sort of like slightly apocalyptic. It doesn't matter who you met in your life, or, you know, even if it's the person who signed a signature at the bottom of something telling you you're overdrawn, or telling you to vote for something. Imagine them at the edge of a cliff, they're all holding on with their fingers, and there you are standing above them. It doesn't matter who you met, you'll have a checklist of all of them. And you can categorize everybody you meet into 3 parts, I think. Those who you pull up immediately while they're dangling, those who you just watchful, and those whose fingers you tread on. I think so far. You know what I hate most of all? I hate when government gives us laws, but they don't see how they actually apply in real practice. And I think it's like they miss that missing link. It's like the Community Care Act. They say we'll protect all these people in the community, we'll let them out of hospitals, etc. Social workers are meant to monitor, or other care people are meant to monitor them. But it's so difficult to do. They give us these laws, but they don't really care how we apply it. I mean, and that's where it falls through, that's where people get hurt. You have 16, 17 and 18-year-old young homeless people that's been in the care system. They leave the care system because government gives them a flat, but nobody's there to support them on how to actually maintain a flat. There's nobody teaching them that. I mean, that's what I really hate about this government, is the fact that they don't actually realise that their laws have so many loopholes, and it's just not perfect, and there's so many innocent people that actually gets hurt by that.
I think I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with myself. I mean, if I wasn't actually me, I don't think I'd actually like me. I mean, I'm the kind of person that I'm bumped into occasionally at Tesco's at the I feel like turkey this afternoon thing. Check out. And I have this dreadful glib conversation with myself about how interesting my life is, which culminates in an ever so sincere smile. And I think to myself, what's my name again? And then, once, I bumped into myself in a shampoo commercial. I came up to myself in the showers, right, and I said, I earn more money than you, I drive a faster car, my girlfriend is better looking than yours, but I'm shagging yours anyway. I have a beef torpedo for a chopper, whereas you have a chipolata. But you can use my anti-dandruff shampoo if you want, my boy. Be patronised even by myself in the showers, not me. I just twat and go. You know, I had it coming. I really don't like my attitude sometimes.
Oh, I guess I don't really hate anybody, really. Hate's a destructive force. It'll tear you apart inside. I suppose you learn to control your hate by understanding. If you understand people, you can't hate them because you'll know why they are what they are and what it is you don't like about them. So yeah, I don't really hate anyone. I have good reason to hate a lot of people, but I don't hate them. I just understand them, and I might not never like them, but I will always understand them for what they did and why they did it. I've done a lot of bad things myself, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who hate me for the things I've done too, but they just understand that I did it for the money. Yeah, hate's a destructive force, and the sooner people drop their hate, the sooner people will get on.
Hate, right? Hate is a really, really, really negative emotion. You've heard the sayings, you know, it's easier to hate than it is to love. Well, I just take the easy route, because I hate everyone. I can't help it. Everybody is just so stupid. Everybody I come across. And I'm gay. Well, surprise, surprise about that. And if you're gay in London, you're supposed to like live in Old Compton Street in Soho. But I hate Old Compton Street because it's just like this catwalk. And if you go down there in anything less than 2 seasons old, you get spat at. You're treated like John Merrick's leprous, uglier brother. It's terrifying. I mean, it just brings out really strong emotions in me. I don't think anybody's got the right to say that to anybody. I don't know. I just think it's disgusting. You're walking down Old Compton Street getting spat at in something 2 seasons out of date. You just fancy reassuring everyone in earshot by saying, don't worry, I use Pantene Pro V and Clinique facial products.
That means they have to have done something great. And I can understand having faceless heroes, people that you don't know. I mean, you can see what they've done, and maybe that to you is heroic. Like, they created something great, you know, a piece of music that inspired you, or a film, or anything else like that. Something artistic that you really appreciate them having done. But I mean, what are they like as a people? You'll never get to know them personally. After all, a lot of the people who created something great are sort of dead now. It's kind of a bit difficult. You'd never get to know them personally. All these heroes. I don't know, I think heroes are bad, and they're good as well. What can you live up to? You can't live up to anything. It's sort of... It is. Comic book heroes, the only ones
really good. They won't let you down because they're all 2D.
I was having a drink in Tom's Diner, and a man carrying a rugby ball walks up to the bar, orders 10 pints of lager, drinks one, pours 9 over his head, vomits on the pension in the corner. Cliff Richard, I think it was. Nice one. Anyway, then he goes up to the first female he sees, who just so happens to be Princess Di, and says, "You've got lovely big tits, fancy a shag, you know you want it." Princess Di says, "Not in here, Will," and then shouts, "Fronts to the walls, girls, it's one of those disgusting heterosexuals. Let's take them outside and give them a good kicking." A man observing from the bar, with 2 black eyes, 6 broken ribs, an out and proud t-shirt, and a slightly effeminate haircut, orders a pint of woodpecker and says, "Now that makes a refreshing change." Princess Di, she's my hero. Nice sense of irony, you see. I bet she drinks calling Big Libel Seat. Suzanne Vega, mustn't forget her. It's a lyrics, you see. She's such an urban realist. Now, in the immortal words of Suzanne Vega.
You can call people like, you can call film stars, you can call rock stars, you can call, people with Nobel Peace Prizes and all that, but, they were human beings at the end, and, they were doing drugs and drinking and, stuff like that. So, they're human beings just like us, and I really do believe that we're heroes within ourselves. I think if you can get through this world in one piece, not be killed prematurely, and be sane, keep all your ligaments with you and all that stuff, that's heroic work. But if I was to say what would be a hero, I think a hero would be somebody who would rescue somebody in a fire. So if I was to look at it again, I'd say fireman. Anybody saving lives in some treacherous conditions, because you can have 15 people in a room and only one person's really got that heroic streak in them. The others would just dart out the back door, leave people burning and shit like that.
Well, I try not to have any heroes because one of my ambitions is always to meet the people I really adore, and that means usually that I end up stalking them. One of my last heroes was Derek Jarman, and I skived off school one day to go to Manchester to actually see him. And he was just a nice old man, not this demigod that I thought would be in front of me. And it was quite disappointing, so I lost all hope in heroes after that. I don't know, I think I associate heroes as, little hero worship is probably teenagers in back bedrooms in Barnsley, rocking backwards and forwards to the latest Britpop sound. All these bedrooms are exactly the same. They've got the Reservoir Dogs because they think Palatino's the best. They've got those lighted candles and that rag rug with the tea stains on it. And these are the people who actually have heroes. Because I don't know. I think I'm probably really depressing when it comes to the facts about this. But I do not have heroes. It's not something I believe in,
Get someone who falls in front of a car in Barking High Street, and someone pulls them away, some total stranger from fucking Woolworths or Littlewoods, and they save their ass. They're in the paper. They're suddenly heroes. They're in the Barking Times, and they're heroes. But at the end of the day, I think we are the real heroes. But because we're so involved in what we do, we cannot see ourselves as heroes. Because therefore we put ourselves on a pedestal. When you become a nurse, you just do it. You become a doctor, you just do it. You become a person who flies a helicopter, who flies into the middle of the M25 and saves somebody. Who hears about the helicopter pilot? Who hears about the nurse? Fucking nobody. All you hear about is the person who was a traffic warden on the scene at the time who went, excuse me. I stopped and reading. I'm a hero.
You've got Superman, Batman, shoved in boxes, coming out Hamleys. Basically, we're subjected to heroes from the day we're born. And, literally, our parents, they're like heroes to us. They're literally gods when we're born. And then it's really sad because we sort of get disillusioned with them. And, when they start saying things like what to wear and what not to wear and, who to see and stuff. And then we sort of turn to an anti-hero because we go from them to something totally different. And I think that's where we have this generation gap because we go from hero to anti-hero to hero and to anti-hero over and over again. And like, I wanted to be.
I mean, do you mean heroes as in role models, or do you mean people that I admire? You don't hear the word very often. There's not many heroes around these days. Stephen McQueen, jumping over or not jumping over the fence as the case may be. And that film is on every fucking Christmas. Escape from wherever. And your man that stood in front of that tank in China a couple of years back, they tried to move around him. He just moved back in their way. Now he was a brave man. I wonder whatever happened to him. I wonder if they gave him a medal. Jimi Hendrix, that he was a fucking hero. The afro, the clothes, drugs, sex, and teeth that could play the guitar behind his back. Good job we didn't hear him old and fat, like fucking Elvis. I'll be back. The Terminator. Now he was sane. What he didn't have, he took. Never saw anyone checking his fucking credit status. Excuse me, Mr. Terminator. How are you paying? Cash or plastic?
Margaret Thatcher was a hero. Because in a lot of ways she was the embodiment of all things righteous and good. She found for me over the 1980s because she was pure. And in a lot of ways she reminds me of the Virgin Mary because she gave birth to the boy child God that we now know was the destruction of the NHS. She was a woman of integrity, a woman of charm, and for me, a true hero. I'm sorry.
It's not something that interests me, and I'm sorry if somebody's offended by that, but it's the way I am. When I was younger, about 11, I used to be really into the thoughts of, saving the world, saving the animals. Animals are my friend was the t-shirt that I used to wear. Oh, by the way, I am a carnivore. I hate vegetarians. Okay, when I was 11, I picked up a copy of the Green Party Manifesto, and it was actually quite Nazi-ish. It was terrible, the things I were expecting us to do, so I lost all hope in it after that. And I don't know, I think saving the world is very Blue Peter, very musically, and very living in Highgate. Those are the sort of people who want to save the world these days. And all I do is just sit on my fat slack arse and just sit there thinking, well, I'm going to be dead in 20 years if I keep on at this current rate. And I'm not going to have any kids unless they get drunk at a party sometime. And so I really don't get...
So just kind of get it run into the whole of our society, because it ain't going to be there. American Indians said a long, long time ago that when the last river is poisoned, we'll start to live. That's all they said, and they knew back then, before cars, before anything that started to happen, that it would all go. So in a way, yeah, we're involved in it. Volcano, the planet's going. That's what shit's happening. That's all. And we just got to go with it, and we've got to help it. And we will. I hope we will. So yeah, I'm hanging in there and I'm waiting for it. But I wish I could do more than buying the right washing powder and the right soap. All of that mascara to go with it. Yeah.
Ecology, I think, perhaps I'm a bit cynical today, but all seems rather pointless. As optimistic as I try to be, When I think about ecology and about everything else, it's the one thing that highlights how idealistic I am to be optimistic, Because it seems to be the only real thing to me these days is pessimistic, because the shit that's happening, I don't seem to be any way of possibly sort of changing things, apart from a long out change of looking at life, the way people look at life, which I can't see happening within the next 10, 20 years. which I think there might be a big fuck-off war, you know.
And I actually think if it is the effects of global warming, then it's, it's a serious problem. And we're just going along with no one knowing what the hell is going on, you know. And okay, so we know that there's going to be problems because of like overpopulation, lack of resources, yeah, but oh wow, you know, anyone can see that. And this sounds really awful, but it's true. It's what I think, is that whenever I see like friends and relatives with newborn babies, I just think like, why did you bring them into this earth, you know? And because the problem is we only think about what is in our lifetime. We don't think about when we're dead. And like if you asked anyone to give up their car because it might save someone's life, a kid's life in 100 years, you know, they wouldn't do it. And
in about 20 to 30 years time, the in thing in our houses, in our homes, are going to be air filter systems. I reckon that you won't go around somebody's house unless they've got an air filter system, because you won't be able to breathe without an air filter system. Some people might have, today they may have gas fires, and the only thing is central heating. But to be chic, you've got to have air filters. Because the air outside is going to be so filthy, it's going to get so rough. Because don't forget, the world's not getting any better, it's getting worse. So, effectively, the air we breathe, that may even be taxed, good air. You really might have pipelines into a house with good air, and if you don't pay your bills, it gets cut off, and then you breathe the bad air. You know, like people don't drink out of the water taps now, they go and buy bottled water. If you can do that with water, then you know air is where it's going to be next. And whoever controls air, controls the world.
It's put there for us to fuck up as we do, I guess. For our own purposes. It comes down to the big question of why we're all arrogant. I think that's a different word. I think it's good that people campaign for the ecology. I mean, there's people pulling this way in a kind of industry who just don't give a fuck about the dollar bill. There's people pulling that way who are screaming for the trees and hugging trees and ban this, ban fox hunting, and stop vivisection. But so it's kind of an ongoing pull between two things: ecology, save the world, it's what we survive on, and fulfilling the dreams. Really, a lot of people have a lot of materialistic dreams in this world, and I suppose you have to dig up the ground to get beer cans, and we all like to drink beer. So what do you do?
Ecology is sort of a difficult one to do because ultimately, unless you're at the top of a big corporation, it does make you feel as if you're pretty helpless, you can't do anything. But you can't sit there and just say that. I mean, there are small things you can start to do, it depends what you believe in. So if you don't want to use cosmetics or tests on animals, because if you ever get some toothpaste in your eye, it really hurts. And if that makes you start thinking about things, then ultimately the only difference you can make is by voting economically. So you don't buy things, or you do, you choose to buy other things. Another reason I think ecology in your own hands, you should stop reproducing. I mean, stop having as many kids. Populations reach plague proportions, so, you know, just stop there. I mean, why do you need more people? You don't. It's something to think about. Cut down on the population before it cuts down on everything else.
I work ecology on a personal basis. I mean, I never throw litter out on the street. Not even a tissue. But I get very fucking annoyed with drivers that put up at lights and throw shit out. As drivers tend to do. A quick look around, then I'd pop the hand for a discreet drop. If I've got time, I run up and throw it back in the fucking vehicle. You see how I get? More being caught in the act than anything else. I mean, rarely would anyone have the cheek to get out and confront me. But if they do, I just explain to them that they have committed a criminal offence. And if they still call me, I'm quite prepared to fight it out. I mean it. I don't mind fighting for something I believe in. Any excuse for a justified rock. My technique is to let them throw the first punch. That way, I got a free hand and knock the shit out of them in self-defense. To tell you the truth, I was wondering about that Rainbow Warrior. They always seem to be getting out of trouble. I was thinking maybe they'd have me, to join them. but they're just a bunch of middle-class pacifists.
Schmirk. Actually, you probably recognise me, don't you? Go on. Take a good look. Can you tell who I am yet? That's right! I am actually Sally the Dancer off the sanitary towel protection adverts. Ooh, pots of cash for me. It's my life. Now, I'm not a gynecologist, or a feminine hygiene expert, or even a woman. And basically, I know nothing about the pain, inconvenience, and mood swings you have to endure every month. But give me a huge wad of cash and I'll tell anyone that if you stuff one of my sanitary towels down your pants, you'll be able to take everything in your stride. With wings! Does Paul McCartney know? Because he loves his cut.
Work's a concept of capitalist thinking. You're just, when you work, you're just another unit in material production or service production, whatever it might be. You're no more than a machine, and you see no more as a machine. You're just a product, and you just produce. That's the way it is in modern society. A lot of people don't like to work. A lot of people see it for what it is, that you just work and spend your money to get rid of your frustrations that you got while you was working that week. You work all week, you go out, you drink your beer, you have a fight, you get rid of your frustrations, you go back to work Monday morning, you're told what to do, you're all constrained, and you go out and release it all again for the next weekend. Me personally, I don't like to work. I don't work for years. There's more one way of skin in the cat.
So groups, I thought myself, I'll do this course. I look at the kids. So I did the course. I went to Brighton University. I did this course on sick kids, and I thought, well, that'll find me. Take me from the stigma of looking after adult patients, adult meals, touching the genitals. So I started looking at the kids, and that was fine. But I still had the same problem. Is he or isn't he? But the problem was, in fact, it wasn't even a problem. The parents looked upon me, wishing I was gay, because I'd have so much, I don't know, I'd have so much feeling for kids, because if I was gay, I couldn't have my own kids. So therefore, I would look after those I couldn't have, like the proper midwife should do.
Imagine that. And they're there helping, being there, hands-on treatment, and then they're very hands-on treatment, and then maybe they go off somewhere else to a restaurant and stuff. And is he charging for that? Is he saying, this is work, this is pleasure? This is the thing, work, we associate with things we don't like doing, and work in itself can be rewarding, just a stack of plates, the books, cornfield that's just been rowed, no wild peas in it at all, you've ethnically cleansed that pea field, you've worked, and the satisfaction of a job done, of something having happened, is in itself a pleasure, and I recognise in myself a failure to recognise the joy of work. I fear laziness, and I fear it in me, and wait to love doing whenever I'm doing enough to make it work.
I've got a diploma in communication studies, which doesn't seem to count for much once you start looking for work. I think it's more of how you get on in the interview. If you're ugly and shy, it doesn't matter how brilliant you are, you probably never get on. I know it sounds really unfair, but it's like the American approach. I just think it's human nature. But come on, I mean, most of us are attracted to outgoing and good-looking people. And I think it helps, if you're a good liar. I mean, you probably end up getting the job that you want. I mean, at school, they would have been better off teaching us how to lie and how to make yourself look gorgeous rather than how to pass exams. When I think how naive I was when I started college, I had all these big ideas that, you know, that I'd have a career in television and everything.
The last job I had was working in this bar. It was run by this really awful woman, and she was just about, you probably can't see, so I'll have to step back. Okay, I am here. This is her. I will not mention her name, because she's probably watching this, and if you are, I hope you die in agony, you miserable old Welsh bitch. She'd come in, you'd be there working, and she'd come in like a miniature Incredible Hulk, stomping in like this, and she'd say, "Why aren't you working?" And the fact that you were serving 16 people in a row because she was so skint and so tight that she couldn't afford to get a second barman on a Friday night when the freaking place was packed, didn't have anything to do with it. She would treat you like shit, and everybody in the pub, and including the staff, hated her. This called her Idris, which was the Welsh dragon from Ivor the Engine, and she just acted like this Welsh dragon. She'd be whizzing around, and this was
to be a real person, because the media tells you what a real person is in a lot of ways, and a real person is somebody that has a lot of money. More often than not. Or if not a lot of money, happiness, which is just as far-fetched. So, to be a real person, how do you do that? You have to work hard. You have to work very hard. And in the system we're in, it's quite unlikely you can work hard enough to become these people on the television or in the films. So, people think, hang on a second, I want that. So they go out and rob it, or they go and commit a crime, or they go and kill somebody. So the media's just to blame, more to blame than any of the phenomena on this planet, or the crime, if you will call it that, the evil that is committed.
I think if you work with people on things, it becomes less like work, because there's an interaction as a corporation about things, and that gives more of a positive feel, because you don't feel as if it's just you doing something. You know, you can spark a lot of people off, you can spark yourself off if you take it one step further. You're the right people to interact with, then everything's good. I mean, if it was just washing up, you ever hold a washing up party, you wash up, you play some music, things get done quicker. You have a laugh. I'm not saying, hey, have a washing up party. That sounds pretty sad if that's about the height of my social life. But that's not, that only happened once, honestly. And yeah. I was still stuck on that one. What else can I think about work?
It wouldn't matter how good looking or rich he was, because all of that has got absolutely nothing to do with love. I love lots of people, not just a partner, but my friends too. And at the end of the day, they're a hell of a lot more permanent than any lover would be. Lots of people think that romantic love is, how can I put it, like a kind of utopia that you find in those really crappy Barbara Cartland novels. And that's just not real. I love my cat. It sounds really stupid. I love my cat, and I think she loves me too. And there's this kind of bond there, but with a person, you can never be sure that that bond won't break. But with an animal, it's like an unconditional affection that you get from them.
I would much prefer if there was this enormous hole in our linguistic system, like there's this hole in our hearts, this like desire for that word that would encapsulate all our feelings. Because I just hear this word love, love, love this, love, loves to love, love, love bade me welcome, love, easy to love is an extraordinary example. It's like, you'd be too easy to love is the Cole Porter lyric, and it's like, loving is easy, it's what it's there for. But why do we have to have a word for it? Because I couldn't possibly understand or describe what it's like to have been in love, and everyone says, no, you don't know until you've been it, you know. And it's like, we all want to know what was this thing that we're not going to know. We're embracing a lack of knowledge, and I think that's the only positive step. I think to love is to be ignorant, to be infinitely forgiving, and is to be inarticulate, frankly, like this, is to have nothing to say of any value except
Love and marriage goes together like a horse and carriage. Bollocks! It doesn't have to be like that. I don't know. I'm really depressive when it comes to things like this. I mean, I hate relationships, and they never seem to work out for me. I mean, I'm sorry, it's maybe the people I choose, because the people I go for are usually one day away from going onto a very high building with a rifle with a telescopic lens and shooting strangers. Those are the sort of people I go for, but, you know, pass me on a bus and bump into me, and we're dating. You know, complete strangers have got messages on their answer phones from me going, beep, hi, it's me, are you alright? Just phone and see how you are, give us a call, alright? See you later, look, yeah, bye, beep. Hi, it's me again, just calling to see how you are, you know. Give us a phone back, okay, sometime? Okay, see you later, beep. Look, oh, look what I've done, you know, I just called your number by accident, oh god.
Where is the love? Where's the humanity? Alright, so, seeing the topic is love, what I would love is that people, instead of getting annoyed at or ignoring people begging in the streets for making them feel, I don't know, greedy or embarrassed, that people would prepare a little. Well, I'm an idealist, okay, but people could carry packets of sandwiches that they've made up earlier. And when these people in the streets beg for money, don't give them money, give them a sandwich. Something cheap like cheese or salad. They might be veggies. And people could carry little bowls of water. Because, I mean, if you're on the piss 24 hours a day, probably suffering from a major hangover from dehydration, and what they really would need is a bottle of water. Even though what they would buy if you gave them the money is another lager.
Love is it's the strangest of emotions. There's no intelligence that comes with love. Whether it be love for your family, or love of a person, a love affair. I've had a few love affairs, and when you're in love, there's nothing no one can tell you. Nothing, no one can say, you see no sense. It's an intoxication. There's people spend a lot of money putting stuff up their nose to get the kind of buzz of being in love with a woman, or a man, depending on the persuasion that will give you. Love of your family, that's a bond, that comes with time, but that's such a deep love that you have. I'll try up on that one. Love.
One big loss to the English language, and that is never taking the three defined loves from the Greek, the romantic, the platonic, and the sexual, and all we have is the one word, love. And I mean, love is such a negative thing in a lot of ways. How many people died for love? You died for the love of a country, you died for the love of a religion. It's in a lot of ways, I don't know, it hurts an awful lot more than hate does. And, you know, normally when you're talking about love, you're not really talking about love, you're talking about sex. You know, when you say, oh, you know, I'm really into giving you a good loving tonight, it's not about that, it's just because fuck and shag and all those words have got like hard endings on the end of them. And and therefore they're not used in songs because love has got a softer tone to it. It's not really what anybody means. It's something else. It's this confusion.
Love. Love is something I don't spend much time thinking about. It seems to happen to other people. Like the mates get serious with some girl, and they come out less and less with the boys each week, so they don't come out at all. They think they're in love, but what happened to the perspective? If being in love means having to give up my mates and put away good beer money each week just for some dress that she's going to wear once, the man says, piss it up against the wall, so go on. But don't be getting yourself married. 20 years of hell on earth is your darker than me. I've been wishing upon another lass. I love my sister, that's true. But to be honest, I've never met a woman as quarter as special as my mom. So as to the chances of me falling in love, I don't rate them too highly.
Well, basically, thank God for art, because it is the only social excuse we have for being completely mad. Like, if you're an artist and everyone thinks you're mad, I mean, it's seen as a bonus, isn't it, you know? And I actually think it's quite interesting that art is short for, like, artificial or artifice, because it actually shows, like, how intelligent we are as creatures, because we're the only creatures in the whole of the planet who have art. And once you have seen like chimpanzees sort of scraping sticks and stuff on the floor, I don't know, maybe that's art to them. I mean, maybe there's this huge dimension of art that we don't even know about.
Everything has an artistic value. Design of a mobile phone, the way a man pushes something to sell it is artistic. But if you mean the high arts, the arts of the upper classes, opera, the theatre, and such alike, classical music, you have to be brought up with such things, you have to be born and taught to appreciate. These days in popular culture, it's very fashionable for people to like jump straight in, you buy the magazine, you buy the tape instantly. The value, Four Seasons, everyone's in there thinking it suddenly gives them a bit of culture. It doesn't quite work that way. Because you'll never be accepted, unless you're born into it, you'll never get accepted. That's high art. I think it stinks myself. Football's art. Everyone goes out to football every weekend. Football's art. Art of the working class. It's good culture.
My name is Ars Carson from the Worcester Sauce Performing Shed Theatre Company, and I just had this totally zeitgeist idea for my next installation. Picture this, right? Young girls, naked, suspended in a tank full of formaldehyde, sliced down the middle. It's just so full of colour and light, it has movement, and to me, it represents the immense sense of love that exists between this totally contrasting, yet conflicting elements. I feel a workshop coming on! Bouncing round the tree, like a little bunny. Bouncing round the tree, oh it feels so funny. Bouncing round the tree, God it feels so right. Bouncing round the tree, what a heap of shite. No, art is beauty, it shivers down the spine, it's orgasm. Anything else is just design masquerading as art, and that means you, Damien Hirst. Honestly, is it any wonder that I am completely off my tree? I'm sorry, I just don't like you anymore!
The art of shagging as often as possible and more than your mates. It doesn't matter if they're not so hot looking. You don't look at the mantelpiece when you're cooking the fries, my dad used to say. Stick a bag on the head or turn them over and take them from behind. It's the tally, not the quality that counts. Me and my mates play grab a donkey at the end of the night. The one that pulls the ugliest bird wins. It's a great way of keeping your hair. You get so pissed sometimes you end up sleeping in a ditch, getting the shit kicked out of you by some other mob. If you keep your head, not only do you get a shag, you get a bed for the night as well. The art is knowing who you are and where you're going, and not giving a flying fuck what anybody else wants you to do. Oh yeah, we're on the subject, art. I mean, everything is so fucking obvious. Cut a sheep in half and set it in clear jelly shape. I mean, where else would you expect to find something like that? Except in an art gallery? Fucking obvious.
Art is a difficult one. Art is everything. You can look at everything and you can make it art. Art is a defiance against death. The best use for life is something that will outlast it. If you can't create something artistic, a thing, you create a hereditary line, you give birth, you have a family, you have children, something will pass on. I mean, passing on things, what will you be remembered for? Will it be something that you did, something that outlasted you? What can you do that outlasts you? Is it an action? Is it something that you create, therefore is it art? Art's very important in the society. You know, it's a great expression of the way that society is. In all forms. I mean, even if you sit there and say, I don't listen to opera, or, you know, that sculpture in the middle of the town centre, it was pointless, you could have spent the money on something else. But that's not really what it's about. You appreciate music, don't you? So, you watch TV, you watch films.
So I'm actually going to I've decided I'm going to talk about the difference between art and porn, because I think it's something that deserves to be talked about. And I don't know, okay, there is art and there is porn. You could argue that when somebody masturbates over a work of art, you don't get people actually in the National Gallery sort of wanking themselves off over a Mona Lisa, not like that. But when somebody's aroused by artistic imagery, maybe then it could be argued that it becomes porn. I don't know, but what does annoy me is when it's something that's obviously porn, and people try and say, oh, but it's art, you know. It's not art! I'm sorry, okay, Jeff Koons, arguably, is art. Damien Hockney, okay, maybe art, you know, but a film like Mickey Takes It is not going to be worshipped in the century's time as a prime example as late 20th century filmmaking. It's just porn. Look at something like Tom of Finland.
It's a skill. And we don't think of art as being a skill now. We think of it as genius, or just an artist as being a lonely, out there figure. This I don't find completely helpful. I'm thinking of the poet Ovid, who divided he divided his skill as a poet into art and genius. Like, genius is something that hits you, and once you're down there, you just have to get it down. You just have to deal with it, scribble it down, sort it out. And it's these two conflicting factors of discipline and inspiration which makes art. Art is basically, for me, life and work, and what I have to do and think about. And otherwise it's doing the washing up, because I'm trying not to do art. Viz work, viz living, I suppose. Do the washing up, Tom. Just sort it out.
Is in the eye of the beholder, and as a consequence of which everything can be art and art can be everything. So, with that potential, nothing can really be defined as art, because everything could be art. Everything. And how you look at it. So, art. The best picture I ever saw was by Pablo Picasso, and it was a girl in a chemise, beautiful young girl, and it just shows her sort of semi-profile at the end of his blue period.
Bottle of Avocar, bottle of Tomazepam, shake it up a bit, wobbly eggnog. I hate it when people ask me if I've got the flu. A bloke asked me if I had the flu the other day on a double-decker, because I was sniffing a lot. And I said, no, I haven't got the flu, mate. I've just been taking copious amounts of cocaine today, that's all, okay? Flu really screws you up, man. I was playing British roulette with three very close friends, Billy Whiz, Ian and Smokey Blow. Oh yeah, British roulette is when you use plastic bullets, because it doesn't hurt as much, apparently. Anyway, it was Billy Whiz's turn, but we had to disqualify him, because he wouldn't stop talking complete bollocks. And then he got all paranoid because we were all looking at him. Anyway, so it was Ian's turn, but we had to disqualify him as well, because he wouldn't shag him well sit still, would he? And he kept hugging everybody, saying that he didn't want to have sex, he just wanted to love them. So anyway, it was down to me and Smokey Blow. And you know what he said? Violence was just a symptom, not a solution. and he ate the shagging gun. I wouldn't care. It wasn't my gun. I've always been a bit of a space.
The rest of the drugs we're talking about here is the kind of things that people put down in the next couple of weekends to get their frustrations, to get out of it. Just want to get out of my head. Some people have no problem with it. Some people are headstrong. They can do their drugs and carry on with their normal lives. Other people lose it big time. Big addictions. Gambling's a drug. Cigarettes is a drug. Beer's a drug. Drugs are very popular in the culture at the moment. I think people have lost direction and they're looking. They see no immediate future for themselves, and drugs is an easy way to get out of it. If you lived on a council estate and your brother didn't work, your father didn't work, and they've never worked for as long as you can remember, what would you do? You have no money, you take drugs. And it's
This is really boring. And that was really hard for me to take. And I became really depressed at one time because I thought that the first time I took it was the answer to all my problems. It just felt wonderful. Like, I thought, this is where it's at, and I don't want to come down off this. I don't want to feel any other way. You know, if death could feel like this, it would be fantastic. I think it's up to the individual to decide what they want to put in their bloodstream. And people have always taken recreational drugs, and they always will. When the government make it so illegal because people make so much money out of it, they don't really give a shit whether it screws people up or not. I mean, at the end of the day, more people die from road accidents than they do from taking drugs.
Hello, matey. How many people are going to be seeing this? And it's not as if anyone can prove anything, is it? I drink a bit. No, I drink quite a bit. I know most people don't look at drinking as taking drugs, but it's the same thing. My point is, the government allows people to drink, but not to smoke a joint. One is legal, the other is illegal. Now, for all the reasons why they say pot is illegal, drinking is many times more dangerous, both socially and physically. I mean, look at all the deaths caused by drink driving. People getting pissed and acting aggressive and shit. How many potheads have you seen trying to cause trouble? See, the thing is, if people were allowed to go grass, the government would lose a fortune in tax. And all that revenue from penny ante bus on students and travellers and shit, that'd be lost. The soft drugs leads the hard drugs argument. Well, personally, I believe it works the other way round for a lot of people. Like, they try strong drugs when they're young.
Pharmacos is a great term, and it was taken from an old Hebrew term, which implied a goat, which was taken out, and all the sin was put on this goat in all these prayers and liturgies, and the goat was outcast and taken into the desert and left, or later on ritually slaughtered. But his goat before that was a human, but this is more civilized and start using language. And from that notion of a scapegoat, from pharmacos we get pharmacy, and our notion of pharmacology is based around rights and wrongs as regards what society tries to imply with that term on the people that take these drugs. And in the same way, in our society now, drug users are scapegoats.
I've never really been into drugs. It's something that just never bothered me. Firstly, because they're so expensive. Secondly, I just don't like the fact that I'm losing my mind. And thirdly, it's the fact that almost everybody is taking drugs these days. And it's just become so blasé. Everybody you know is taking drugs. It's just not worth doing it anymore. I mean, at a party once, I took acid, and it was the first time I'd ever done it, and I absolutely loved it, and I was sat in a corner like this. Sat looking at a wall and just drooling, because I thought it was hilarious. Everyone looked like a blue meanie from the Yellow Submarine. And it was terrible because it was at a hippie party, and I became a hippie for one night. I mean, it was terrible. I mean, I wasn't wearing the maxi coats and like, you know, thinking gong were really fabulous or anything like that. But I don't know, it just depressed me. It lasted for about 3 days, and towards the end of the third date, all the walls were still curved like something out of Marshmallow Land. I don't know. Now, I don't want to seem like an anti-drugs campaigner or anything.
I admit it, I like drugs. So do my friends. Some do, some don't. Everybody, almost everybody I know takes them in some form or another. I mean, I know a lot of people had bad experiences on them. One friend of mine actually died, but he was revived about 4 minutes later. He did live, but now he only drinks very heavily. I think the problem about it is that you get all these lies that your parents, people in authority, through education, through the government saying to you, don't do any of them, you can't do any of them because they're really damaging. I mean, the people I know do them, they're all not complete wasters. They have jobs, they keep down jobs, they earn money. They're not completely fucked up either, they just enjoy it. I think it's something that humans do, they like to... There's always a new way of looking at things. If you wiped out drugs, they'd look at things standing on their heads, which still wouldn't be that much of a healthy thing to do anyway.
Hashish, this guy in Paris, taught me how to smoke hashish out of this bassoon crook. I say taught me to, the problem is he never actually bloody gave me any, which was unfortunate. We were just down the corner. He's teaching me how to hyperventilate. What do you have to do, Tom? You have to go 40 times, which he did for me, 40 times. And then went, it was all gone, all gone. Oh look, here come the police, let's run off to the nearest restaurant. And, well, having to work there, it's not that I could afford to eat there, I'd have to deal with potatoes, that was the deal. Drugs, the only other drugs is, there's a technique of writing about them for weekending. There's a Radio 4 program, it's a sketch show. And every time a drug story comes up, you just have a policeman coming on talking about the great rabbit in the sky. You just have to come up with something surreal, just a couple of words, 2 words strung together. And for a joke, a friend of mine and I tried writing for this show on drugs. And we kept trying to say, no, the police would never say that.
Sex. It's got to be moving. Sex, background. Yes. What's it to say about sex? Sounds completely thought about. Because whenever I watch TV or anything, I see somebody on TV talking about sex, they always sound like a fucking idiot, you know? Either talking to kids or talking to very stupid people. I think that's who their targeted audience is, really, because it's one of these things that if you start talking about it, it shows everything about the way you look at life. That sounds really paranoid today, don't it? Sex. I think I'm losing it with sex, basically. Getting less and less sexually powerful, productive, maybe.
93-year-old man, yeah, with a 20-year-old woman, and she says she's had the best sex she's ever had. And I actually think men get the better deal like that, because I mean, you never hear about like a 93-year-old woman with a 20-year-old man, and I mean, it just wouldn't happen. And if it does, you know, anyone out there, tell me about it, because I'd like to know. And also physically, physically, I think men get the better deal as well, because we just crack up, you know, in our like 40s or whatever, and like HRT to the rescue, right? But I think we actually have in us this like self-destruct mechanism, and it's like the film Alien. All women are expendable, you know. You give birth and you just fuck off.
I was too scared to admit, just might as well walk up and say, how's about it? Some people do, some people are honest about it. But I think the higher up the classes you go, the more hang-ups people got about sex. If you go to real tacky nightclubs, people know that everyone's up for it there, that's what it's all about. It's fucking animal farm. People near the top, they seem to have real hang-ups about sex, especially in this country. Big hang-ups about sex. No one talks openly about sex. Everyone wants to do it. Everyone's thinking about it every hour of the day. Everybody's thinking sex. You walk down the street, you see a girl's body, you're thinking, yeah. You're thinking about a personality. You're thinking, yeah, what I could be doing with that. Well, I know I am, you know. They don't make a bad person.
I like women who are sophisticated. I don't really believe in all the revealing business because, you know, I think it's like making a statement. Some women talk about, like, you know, you could be walking down the street and you see a girl and she's wearing something very, very short, very, very, very tight, very, very revealing. I've spoken to women about this in the past and they've said to me, well, that's the way I want to dress, that's the way I want to be dealing with. I'm not making a statement saying that come and take me, I'm just like this particular outfit. But I say to them, look, if I was to go out on the road wearing a codpiece, just showing my nuts, right? I'm just making a statement. I don't want anybody to like get involved with me, but some gay guy might see me and want some. So, you know, at the end of the day, you've got to know where to draw the line, you know, and stuff. But that's the difference between male and female, and that's kind of like sex. That is sex, male and female.
The one thing about sex is at least it's honest. It doesn't pretend to be love. It is what it is. I mean, sex, you start out and you have sex with somebody and everybody pretends they enjoy it, but they don't really. Well, I know loads of people that didn't, and they all admit to lying and say that they did because that's what expected. You get fed all this stuff from the media, and you get all these scenes in films, which is so difficult to live up to. You know, all this thing, oh, your clothes fall off magically, you don't have to worry about condoms, and it just happens, and you come at exactly the same time, and it's stupid. It doesn't happen like that. And you get everybody going into counselling because that's what they think, you know, they should be able to do that. And there are such high expectations. I don't like being defined by a gender, I don't like being defined by a sexual orientation. I mean, what are you supposed to say? You're supposed to say you're heterosexual, so suppose if you had some kind of a homosexual...
Sex. That got you interested. Okay, well, I'm going to be talking about something that's not normally equated with sex, which is pubic shaving. And I don't know, it's become quite fashionable these days to have your pubes shaved. Okay, I mean, 20 years ago it was only women with bikini lines, so these girls can know what I'm talking about. But everybody else who doesn't, I'll show you what it's like. Basically, you're lying on a bed like this, and some guy, or girl perhaps, if you're that way, they've usually got a cup for a razor, and they're holding it against your genitalia like this, pulling it apart and going like that. And you're there because you're really worried because this guy's had a drink and you've had a drink as well to get you in the mood, and your paranoia's going a little bit because you think, you know, just one slip with this razor blade and you could get turned into a Barbie doll. It'd be really horrible. You'd be like having a crotch by Mattel. You'd be looking down in the one and go, where's my schlong? And I don't know why people actually do pubic shaving because it's actually quite painful. It doesn't look good.
She asked me the question that every bloke dreads. Is size important? I tried to avoid the question, but she just kept pushing it. I had to give her an answer. Of course size isn't important. It's what you do with your breasts that counts. She didn't believe me though. She's getting implants next month, and it's all my fault. Just like everything else. If she doesn't get turned on, it's my fault. If I don't get turned on, it's my fault. If I come too soon, it's my fault. If I last too long, it's my fault. If I want sex all the time, it's my fault. And if I don't want sex quite as much, it's still my fault. But if we have the most incredible, awe-inspiring sex of our entire lives, culminating in a mind-blowing simultaneous orgasm, I may as well have been a cucumber. In fact, I wasn't even there at the time. It was all down to her. I don't know. Perhaps I should stop dating Tory MPs.
Sexual positions is what me and my assistant Maggie are here to show to you today. Let's see how many of these are new to you. They shouldn't be. First, fellatio. And always practice safe sex. Always wear a condom and try and get one of those fruit-flavoured condoms. Imagine what it's like sucking rubber and latex. Be considerate. Straight into cunnilingus next. With a bit of practice, you can do both at the same time. In Britain, we call this politics. You can roll over, and both parties can change positions. But you soon see that this makes little difference. Flexion and tension next. Flex that and tense that, and you'll be having a wicked time. Now, the superior woman or head is house. For this, Maggie gets on top in a superior position and is in complete control. Straight into rear entry next. A major technique, this. Major. One for everybody, this.
And now,
Better Conservative! Better politics or better Britain!
thank you.